Hey guys, this is TaysGreenLife. Welcome to the podcast. This is House Divided. Introduce yourself, guys.
Hey, this is Thomas. I'm the rhythm guitarist.
I am Nard. I am the bassist.
I'm Alex. I play lead guitar.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Josh. I do the clean vocals.
I'm Zachary, and I do the screaming, or most of the screaming. Yeah.
Sounds good. How long has House Divided been together? Start with Nard.
Let's see. We started about 5 years ago, 5.5 years ago. Yeah. Basically, we were remnants of a older project we were part of. After that, we kind of rebranded together and making what we are now. So it's been about close to 6 years.
And how would 6 years, like the time difference, like playing back then to playing now, Thomas?
Well, we definitely have been the most active in the last 2 years. We spent a solid 2 years writing the material, but we did play briefly with the older material from the last project. In the very beginning of the band, maybe in the first 6 to 8 months. We played a couple of shows. We played with We Came as Romans and back when Shakas was still around. And the reception now is, I think, is a lot better. Unfortunately, we had someone involved with the band back then where a lot of the local people weren't super in favor of, so we got a lot of flack for that. But I mean, it's good. The local music scene, at least down here in Hampton Roads, seems like it's healthier than ever in comparison to 5 years ago. There's a lot of really great bands making a lot of really great stuff down here. Not to say that there weren't great bands back then, but I would definitely say that the quality of the stuff coming out now is a lot better than it was 5 years ago.
And how would you explain, Alex, how would you explain the music scene in Virginia Beach compared to Richmond?
I say we've only played there twice. I wouldn't say it's very different. I mean, obviously we've played here more, so we know more people, but I'd say they're both thriving pretty well. I mean, the only difference being, I would assume there's probably more local venues in Richmond to play that we have played, but I've noticed the good thing about our area is that we can kind of alternate between there's which Shakas is gone and we're all sad about it, but that's been years ago. And now we've got Scandals, which is in Virginia Beach, and they're really awesome. We love playing there. And then Riff House is in Chesapeake, and it's a pretty good spot to play. And then some of the bigger shows that come through the Elevation for some of those those big touring packages that come through. So we kind of have options when booking shows. And there's a few other places we haven't played. I think there's one called The Bunker in Virginia Beach as well. We haven't gotten to yet, but that's one thing I will say is I've noticed maybe there's more, options as far as booking venues, but then again, we've only played Richmond twice, so it's hard to say.
Would you think social media contributes to the fact that you guys have played in Virginia Beach and Richmond? Josh, did you want to question about that?
So as far as I love who we've met in Richmond, and a lot of that has come through our social media contacts. The guys in Three Piece, for instance, we met them at a Richmond show with 25 people, and it was just sort of a fun way for all of us to get together. And since we first made contact, everyone's been really supportive and trying to get each other. I think that the only way that the separate markets, Northern Virginia, Richmond, Hampton Roads, even out Roanoke way, is the only way we're all going to merge and get together is through social media. So I've had a blast just talking to the other dudes and getting to know all the great music that Virginia has to offer.
And Zach, would you say that the music is similar, or would you say it's all different types, especially with Northern Virginia to Hampton Roads to Roanoke?
Oh Lordy, that's a good question. I feel like it's actually it's diverse, but it's also, I think a lot of times you want to be able to tell. You could have an amazing hardcore band in Virginia Beach, but you could also have one like even 3-piece, they have a lot of hardcore vibes. So, and they're from like more in the mountains, and it's almost like, honestly, you can never tell. Like it could be like not even a bigger popular city. So it's like, it's really like, it almost feels random. I think that's the best way to put it. Like you can never tell, it seems.
Can I get on the tail of that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I've noticed that a lot of like the genres that come out of this area is like, it's like primarily like hardcore and like beatdown and like deathcore, a lot of like the heavier, more niche stuff. But there's a huge cult following for that in this area. We're actually usually with the oddballs. There's a couple of metalcore, but there's not too much metalcore coming out of Virginia Beach right now. I've noticed there's a lot more diversity in the Richmond area in terms of there's a couple metalcore, there's hardcore, deathcore, and you get all these people together. And you have these really like diverse shows that are really fantastic. I haven't played too much we haven't played too much Northern VA people at this point. So I couldn't tell you on that one, but I can definitely tell you our area is a lot of like deathcore, hardcore, beatdown stuff.
So with you guys playing with so many bands, you've opened for While She Sleeps, you've played with Dropout Kings. What would be one of your favorite bands you've toured with, like Born of Osiris, Signs of Swarm, and Shadow of Intent?
That was a really cool show. So we didn't go on tour with them, but we got on the date for our area. And it was a huge show. It was packed out. Zach, I think you went hung out with some of them after the show, didn't you? Went to karaoke.
Yeah, me and a couple members of Born of Osiris, like, and then some other people that they knew, like, they were like, "Hey, what bar is open?" I was like, "Well, I know a karaoke spot kind of down the street." So I literally got to do like karaoke with some of Born of Osiris, and like, I think the drummer did like a Britney Spears song, and like it was so cool.
Let me interject really quick. It wasn't just like the couple band members. It was the drummer and their lead guitarist. So that's kind of like a big deal in terms of everything.
Yeah.
And with Dropout Kings, you've worked with them on a song called Stray. Can we talk about that one?
So Adam is actually our marketing manager. We hire every time we come up to a release. We hire his company called Push Digital Marketing. That's where it is. And he's really fantastic at that. He's very personable. And through that, we got in contact with doing the feature we got through them. So we talk to them a couple times a year, couple months out of the year. We're in regular contact with them. Whenever they come around, we'll hang out and have some drinks. And I think Nardi and Josh, you guys hung out with them, not this last time, but time before last?
Around like a 10-minute window.
Yes. It was actually pretty fun. It was actually one of probably the biggest highlights of like shows that I've played so far is that once after we played the show and everything was like winding down, they were just like, "Hey, you want to go to the green room?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And in that, we destroyed half a handle Jameson and talked about everything from Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon to social philosophy. So, yeah.
Guys always make me sad that I leave.
Sure.
How was it playing on Graven's Metal Vault?
I dealt with him.
Okay.
He's a great guy. He's been wanting to get us on for an interview on his show, but we haven't been able to get it lined up. But we ran into him at a local show. We were playing with Divided and who else played that night? The Heat Cleaver was on there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think Alcindor was as well.
Alcindor, yeah. And so that ended up being a really crazy local night. And he really liked what he heard. And so he asked if we could send him songs to put on the radio show and listen into it. And it's a great thing that he's trying to get the metal out to the masses and show our genre to the larger group of people.
And I think that's very important. Since you guys have been, I think, a band since 2018, is that what you said? 2018?
That was about when we rebranded.
Yeah, 2018. Yeah.
So if you were to talk to yourself back then, what advice would you give yourself, and what advice would you give someone doing like starting the thing you're starting now?
Hire Josh sooner.
What's that?
I said bring Josh on board sooner.
Yeah, that's right.
Best decision we ever made. It's one of those things where you start doing things a certain way, and it's something you're passionate about, and then you can run it a certain way where it starts to feel like a job in a sense, and you forget to have fun. And it's one of those things where bringing Josh into the band kind of reset everything, and now we're just all having a good time and enjoying it again. So it's made all the difference in the world.
On the real though, but the biggest advice I would definitely give is get your finances straight for like your band, because you need as much. You can write the best songs ever, and be the most beautiful people and be the most charismatic on stage. But unfortunately, if you can't finance your marketing and getting your recordings properly done, and all the things that come along with that, unfortunately, you may not want to do, but you have to. It's the only way you get people to get you. I mean, that's the biggest one. And definitely invest in finding a really good mixing engineer / producer, because you can write really awesome songs if they're recorded really when you're in a garage. People aren't going to get what you're trying to deliver to them. Throw in Jeremy Anderson.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the next question I can ask since you're bringing it up. How is working with Jeremy Anderson?
Awesome. He's a real funny guy. Mm-hmm. He's very, very talented. He's very, very fairly priced. So hit him up to do all your recordings. Mm-hmm. He'll make you sound like a radio band.
Yeah,
it's not like a radio
Jeremy's
type genre.
Really good at what he does. I've actually watched him do his sound for like Cane Hill and R804, and I was like, oh my god, this man knows how to do everything. I've actually interviewed Jeremy, so like it's so great like hearing just great feedback, and like he's such a great guy, and like he's willing to work with me. How do you guys like survive playing live? Like how much I feel like that's a big mental like barrier you have to cross to be that person compared to who you are on like real life.
So for me, I have to basically flip a switch, because for me in normal world times, I'm very reserved. I'm very quiet. I'm not at all outspoken. And so pretty much every single time I am on stage, after I do my stretching and all that, I kind of have to like close my eyes and like kind of like meditate for a quick second. And I say that is the other me coming out. And it is a totally different person. It is a person who doesn't care, who doesn't really matter what he looks like or what he is doing. As long as he's having fun, he doesn't care. And he will sweat, yell, and scream and hurt anybody impossible to make sure that it's a good time. Yeah, there's been a few instances where I've hit one of my bandmates with my headstock.
He's almost given me a concussion at least once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zach, how do you get motivation? Like, what do you have to do before you get your screams out?
So basically the most like prepping really is for live shows is it's basically like most of my effort is just concentrating like on being on time. Like, so I just basically I follow the drums and make sure I'm on time. And it's like, after I'm doing that, it's like the rest, it's like, just have fun and just have fun and don't care, because that, that helps me like, that helps me not be as stressed. So I basically just focus on keep being on time, and obviously knowing my parts and practicing too, but just general, it's like I'm keeping on time and just having fun. And like, if I just look at it that way, it's like, it's way less stressful.
And I feel like using that, like, because like I said, I have a small business and I try to, like, if it is bothering you and you're not being happy about it, you shouldn't be doing it. So if you can, fight through the hard work and the negativity that some things might bring you and work really hard, I think you'll get where you need to be. And a lot of people they always are like, oh, it's so hard, it didn't work out, and they just give up. And I think it's very important that everyone puts in the effort and works really hard and also have fun doing it.
Oh, and having fun. I really, really strongly support that.
Yes.
Just having fun. I mean, it's, that's like half of the work, like the vibes and having fun and connecting with fans or, all that stuff. Like it goes a long way. Like you could be broke as hell. Like it doesn't matter if you're connecting with the audience, it's going to go a long way.
Sounds really good. That sounds really positive. Josh, can we talk about the lyrics of Stray and what the motivation was for that?
Sure. Yeah. So Stray is one of our, I think, most out there songs to date. The concept is essentially an astronaut in space that recognizes that he's never coming back, right? Something's gone down where you're just out there floating. And the idea of legacy, right? When somebody dies in a tragedy or an accident, they're remembered for that tragedy or accident rather than everything that they've lived up to that point. So sort of talking about like the futility of obsessing about a reputation, about transience, right? About how quickly things change in life. And, sort of the futility of obsessing about what other people think about you. At the end of the day, if you're alone, you're alone. And coming to terms with yourself outside of stimulus, outside of video games, books, whatever it is that you're distracting yourself from. At the end of the day, it's you and you alone. And I don't know, it's sort of like a little meditation on that.
I think that's very important, like to know who you are when you go on these adventures. Cause like you could make a mistake, but like making a mistake is part of learning. And I think like I said earlier, a lot of people just aren't willing to make the mistakes to learn from it. And I'm like, that's what you're supposed to do. You have to grow from these mistakes. You need to like learn who you are so you don't make mistakes again. And I actually like the song Stray. Like I think it's like one of my favorites.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, I like the concept a lot. And I mean, we're not truly alone, especially if we're drifting out in space. Because there's got to be someone there,
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully you're not just drifting and you die. But I like to think that everyone has someone out there and they have the support that they need. And even when they don't, I think it's very important to have that support in yourself.
I don't mean to come off as negative in that means. For example, like you're talking about making mistakes. I think that the highlight or the focus I wanted to put on is you're free to make mistakes. In 100 years, who's going to be thinking about, that time that what you said at the Christmas party that was super awkward? Probably not too many people. Right. So it's more about like, loosen up. This is the life that you have. Right. At the end of the day, it's you and you alone that's going to be able to look back and either celebrate your successes or live with the regret. That's the spark notes of it. I could go on forever.
I think that's great. I do. I enjoy it. What's you guys' plan for the next year?
Well, we've got another song that's done, and we got to get the media done for it. So hopefully we'll see that out here the next 2 to 3 months max. That one's going to be way different from the one we just released. It's very, very melody heavy. And then we've got another 3 to 4 songs that are like probably like 70% done. So I think I don't know if we decided whether we just do more singles, if we're going to do another EP. But just going to play more shows, get out to Richmond a couple more times, maybe try to go up to DC. That's kind of where, where my head's at anyways. And, hopefully we'll blow up online or something.
I think it's funny because like you could get like one video can get so many likes and you're viral like that. And I'm just like, that is insane how like social media works now. And with social media being a big thing, how, like, what's your opinion on touring now?
I think
good question.
Go ahead.
Oh, well, I think that touring now compared to like, let's say 2008, 2010 times, it is still necessary, but I don't think it is as necessary. You know, we grew up with bands that as soon as they could, they got the most beat down van and they just hit the road for months on end. And that was just in hopes of getting recognition and traction going, where now it's kind of like a dual purpose of you have to have some touring, but the biggest part of you getting like in front of people's eyes and in their ears is really just on social media and having a strong form of marketing, an idea of what you're trying to do each time you're trying to, like, let's say, promote a show or your music and things like that. I think that is far more beneficial for you at this time and days as a musician more than touring. Mm-hmm. I think touring is still beneficial because, you know, they want to not just hear your voice and see your music videos. They want to actually hear you play. They want to actually see you as a person right then and there. And I think that is something that is still necessary, but it's, you know, it can be very sparing now, depending on how big you're trying to get to or how many goals you are trying to hit. So like for us, like we have just now hit a bridge where we're thinking more about going outside of our hometown to play more shows. So like up in DC area, maybe further down south, like, you know, North South Carolina. And, you know, we're trying to see how the best way to go about it. So I would say it's necessary, but not as a requirement nowadays.
Funny enough, the advice that I got from Jeremy Anderson, because I asked him about this a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, he said, you should definitely go out there to get your feet wet, but don't expect to really start seeing people filling rooms out until you get like a kind of blow up moment. Like, for example, Revenant, from experience, like going out and they've done tours and playing empty rooms a lot. And then they did their cover of like their Halsey cover, which went, you know, the equivalent of viral.
Yeah.
And then now they go out and like, you know, they don't play at empty rooms. So, not all the time anyways. And that's kind of what he was getting at. And I think that's probably a good, like, touring is necessary to go out and meet the people. And as like a band coming up in today's like market, it's about the only way you make money too is playing shows. So, which is used to fund more of the art.
Yes.
So it's definitely necessary. I think just people have to be smarter about it now because there's just so much content out there now. It's hard to make people want to care.
And like content is like the one thing I've noticed is the hardest thing to do is to create the content. Like when I'm like in the the moment where I'm, you know, actually working on my business and like at a pop-up event, I'm not thinking about like recording it or taking pictures of it. I'm thinking of, you know, doing my business and showing my like people like who I am through my business. And how do you guys feel about creating content to get more viewers for House Divided?
So like the internet points are great, right? I'm sure as a small business owner, you feel great when you see all the thumbs and you're like, wow, people are really paying attention. But what's important, right? What's important about doing shows? What's important about making music is when you make real human connection that's genuine, people that genuinely care about your music, people that are moved in some way. The content's fun, right? We try to have fun with it. If it's forced or if it's, you know, for the sole intent of generating, you know, just a tiny bit of validation, then it feels, I think a lot of the pressure to create content right now is insincere and desperate. Our band tries to do things a little differently. We try to be moderate in how far we push people to see our stuff. Really, if like for me personally, if I create something and I think it's funny, I'll post it, right? Or if I think it's fun, I'm not going to do it saying, okay, well, if this doesn't get 5,000 hearts and 16 thumbs, I hate myself. Right? You can't judge yourself on this. It's such a weird time to seek attention. So promotion is one thing, but the core of House Divided, right, is about making music that moves people in real time. We want to get out there. We want to see you at the show, and we want to make you feel something, whether it's disgust or joy or anger, or if you just start running out the room, you know, that's better than the click on your phone. So that's where we're at, I think.
Amen to that, Frill.
I'm not a big social media person, but I've had to be for like the band. And I've actually had some fun making TikToks the last couple of weeks. And I had my first semi-viral TikTok. And so now I'm TikTok famous and I get to quit my job. So, you know.
It was great working with you guys. This is House Divided. You guys want to give out your plugs so everyone can follow you? Go ahead.
Definitely. So we make a lot of content on TikTok lately. You can find it at House Divided Music. You can find it at our own personal things. If you type in, Joshua or Alex or Thomas or Nard, Divided, you'll find us. And then Zach is at Snake Screamer. He does some crazy Steve Irwin type stuff that you would love to check out. If you want to follow us on Spotify, it's House Divided, those forward slashes. There's another House Divided that's like super housey. So if you start feeling like you're at the club, you pick the wrong band, go to the other House Divided and you'll find us. But we would love for people to check out Stray. We would love for people to check out the EP that we poured a lot of time into, and to check out our next secret project that should be out in a month or two. We're so happy to have spent the time with you, and are really grateful that you took the time to ask us all these cool questions.
Yes.
Any chance that I get to look at these guys is awesome.
It was great working with you guys. I loved asking you guys these questions. A good podcast, and I would love to have you guys again. Thank you for being here. Bye, guys.